Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be doing a review and demonstration of the new Derwent Procolour coloured pencils. So welcome back. If you're new here, my channel is all about creative colouring and sharing fun tips and techniques that you can apply to your artwork and creative projects. So here is the set of coloured pencils I'm going to be reviewing today. This is the 24 set of Procolours. Now the Procolours have been something that I have been wanting to get ever since they were first announced. So here's the pack of 24. I went ahead and purchased them off Amazon. That's because I couldn't find them in any of my local art shops or my local art websites, and you may find that if you're watching this video when it goes up, they may be, some of your art shops may not be stocking them quite yet, so keep an eye out for them and do check on Amazon, because Amazon does have them in stock, and so does the Derwent website, but the Derwent website just ships to the UK, so depending where you live, have a look on Amazon. One other thing I want to quickly mention, sometimes with Amazon the packaging's not that great, and so I have not bought coloured pencils off Amazon before because of this, but with these pencils the tin is really sturdy and they came all wrapped up inside in cellophane, so none of them had shifted, and I haven't had an issue of any broken leads or any broken pencils. So just in case you're worried about that, these seem to be fine to be shipped from Amazon. They come in this really nice sturdy tin. On the back they've got some information about the different standards they comply to. There's some information about the pencils, it's in 4 different languages: English, French, Spanish and German, and they're described as strong, smooth, clean coloured pencils. And the way that I interpret that is that they're strong in terms of the point, they can hold a fine point. They're smooth, the blending and the laydown is really smooth like a wax-based pencil. And the clean part, clean coloured pencils, as in they don't create a lot of excess lead. When you're colouring, sometimes if it's a really creamy pencil, you can get a lot of sort of lead coming off the pencil and it can end up smudging a lot. It's a little difficult to describe, but if you've used wax-based pencils you probably know what I mean. And these are meant to not to have too much of that. So the front cover is really nice. I really like the packaging design for this. I think it's really striking. I really like this brightly coloured background here and the contrast with the blue. These are professional quality pencils, and they have a nice little colour range of colours here. So there are 72 coloured pencils available in the Procolour range, and they come open stock as well as in sets. I went for the 24 set because I didn't want to go for the biggest set because it was expensive. I didn't know if I was going to like the pencils. I mean, I had a hunch that I would, but I didn't want to go ahead and spend enormous sums of money. But the 24 set I think is a really good set, and if you even if you're just a beginner and you haven't got any pencils, then I would recommend this set of 24 because it gives you a really nice range of colours and you can do a lot of layering and you can do a lot with a set of 24. So I think this is a really nice set, and these come, as I said, in tins and open stock, and these pencils are wax and oil based pencils. So here are the pencils. I've been using them all week, so that's why some are shorter than others. The pencils look like this. They have a, let me get this green one. They have this grey covering, dark grey covering. It says made in Britain, it says Derwent Procolour, and then it says the name of the colour. This one's grass green, and the number, so this is 49. And they have the sort of the Derwent dipped colour ends, and this little silver stripe. And they do the same sort of layout for all their coloured pencils. Derwent, in case you don't know, makes lots of different coloured pencils. They're a UK company. They make graphite pencils, water soluble pencils, ink pencils, all sorts of different coloured pencils, and these are the Colour Soft ones. This is another coloured pencil they make, and as you can see, very similar layout. They've got a coloured strip here, these ones are brown, and then the name of the colour and the colour number, and then there's this dipped colour tip and the silver stripe. And it's quite nice as well that these the coloured pencils have different colours around them, so right at a glance it's very easy to tell all of the Derwent pencils apart, and it's also quite easy to tell the Derwent pencils apart from other types of coloured pencils. They're very distinctive, so that's nice. Now in terms of the colours for this set, the colours for the set are really nice. I went ahead and I swatched out the 24 different colours. I think there's a really nice range of colours here. You've got a couple of yellows, an orange, a couple of reds, a nice sort of magenta, pinky colour, a couple of purples, some blue, three blues, this sort of mint green aqua colour. That was a mistake, I drew that pencil twice. Then 4 greens, some four browns, that one's more of a gold, and then a couple of greys and a black. And used these colours, these 24 colours, to do the demonstration piece. I actually added one luminant skin colour into it because they didn't have a very light flesh colour, light skin tone colour, and that's what I needed to do her face with. But it's a really nice selection of colours. One thing, however, I did find was that the dipped ends, some of the colours are very similar to each other. So with the greens here, these 3 colours are this one, and this one. And as you can see, let me find the 51, here, this one. The dipped ends, the coloured end of the pencils, are not the same colour as the lead. Now, when I was colouring, I found it hard to tell the difference because, as you can see, all 3 colours, even though these are 3 different shades of green, the ends look really, really similar. And when they're in the box, they look, to be honest, when you're working, almost identical, actually. Now that I look at it under this bright light, they look identical. Now, you could, when you're picking your colours, you could just go for the colour tips or keep the colour chart handy. I think that's what I'm going to do. If you keep your pencils in their box, make a colour chart and keep it in the top of the box, or you could tape the colour chart to the lid. I often do that as well. But that's something to bear in mind with these pencils when you're working, is that don't just go by the colours on the ends. Now, it's not, as I said, it's not a big issue. It's not affecting the quality of the lead. But if there is something for Derwent to work on, perhaps it is to get the colours at the end of the pencils at least similar. Some of them are well off to the leads, because it's very difficult when you're grabbing your greens and you're grabbing pencils out of the tin to tell them apart completely. These 3 greens in particular, the rest of the pencils aren't too bad in terms of the colour matching. And then what I did after I swatched it out onto white paper, I thought I'd do some swatches onto tan paper to see how the pencils went onto tan paper, and I wanted to test the white against some other brands. So the white for me is quite an important colour. I use the white a lot to blend, and that's why the white is much shorter than all the other pencils. So this is the white Procolour pencil. This is the white Polychromos pencil, and the Polychromos white is not a great white pencil. It's not very opaque, it's very translucent. So if you want a transparent white pencil, then the Polychromos is a good one. But if you're wanting to layer white on top to bring back highlights and things, then the Polychromos is not great for that. This is the Luminance White, this is the Creator Colour Carmina White, and this is the Prismacolor White. And out of all of them, the Procolour and the Luminance go on very similar in terms of the opacity on this grey coloured paper, and this is the Derwent pastel paper, in case you're wondering. So the Prismacolor goes on nicely as well. It's very opaque, but in terms of the opacity, the Procolour, I mean, I think it's like a tiny bit less opaque than the Luminance, but to me they look really similar. So that was really nice. I was really impressed with that. Then I tested some other colours out. These are the Polychromos pencils. I wanted to kind of do a comparison, and the Procolour pencils go on the tan paper really nicely. Now these Polychromos shades are a little bit darker than these ones because I didn't have exact matches. So these are oil and wax based pencils. Now it says on the website that they kind of combine the best of both worlds. So they have the smooth blendability and laydown of a wax pencil, but without any wax bloom or wax build-up, and they have the vibrant colours of an oil-based pencil and the ability to keep fine, sharp points. So in terms of their softness, now this is not based on any scientific information from the Derwent website or the Luminance website. This is just me colouring with the pencils and feeling the softness of the lead. So from what I feel, I would say that the Procolours go in between the Polychromos and the Luminance in terms of their softness. The Polychromos are the harder pencil. The Procolour is, I guess, a medium-y one, but it's closer to the luminance in its softness. It's more on the luminance side of things than the Polychromos side, but it's not quite as soft as the luminance. The other thing that was nice is I had no issues with lead breaking or sharpening. I just used a little handheld sharpener when I was sharpening these, and they kept their points really well. I didn't have to do much sharpening when I was working on my piece. So now what I'm going to do is to jump into time-lapse and talk to you guys in a voiceover about how the coloured pencils went on, how I used them, and talk to you a little bit about how they lived up to what Derwent claims that they can do. So for the demonstration piece, I printed out a page from the Breeze colouring book, and there's a Etsy link to the colouring book in the description box below if any of you are interested. This is the Alice page, and I printed it out on my home printer onto some Strathmore Bristol vellum, and this is a really nice paper for pencils. It's quite smooth, but there's enough texture in the paper so that I could do lots and lots of layers, and the pencils took to this paper really well. So the way that I approach coloured pencil pieces is to layer and layer up the colours, and I tend to go from dark to light, but as you can see on this piece I do jump around a bit. Sometimes I go light to dark, it kind of depends. And this piece took 5 hours to complete, and I don't use any blending solutions. I don't use blending pencils or baby oil or Zest It or the Mona Lisa paint thinner. I don't use any of those mediums. The way that I blend coloured pencils is I just layer and layer and layer and layer and layer up the colours, and sometimes I use the white to blend the colours together, but often I'm just layering all the different tones together. I actually approach coloured pencils in a very similar way to how I approach Copic markers. Now, I'm not going for realistic colouring in this drawing. I'm trying to get lots of depth and dimension to my colouring, and I'm doing lots and lots of layers and trying to build up shadows, but it's by no stretch of the imagination realistic. Maybe it's perhaps semi-realistic, I'm not sure, but anyway, if you're into doing realistic art yourself, or you would use these pencils for doing realistic art, then there's another review on YouTube. There aren't many reviews of these pencils because they have only just come out, but there's a review from a channel. The channel's called Lacquery Fine Art, I think. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I'll leave a link to her channel in the description box below. But anyway, her channel, she does loads of photorealistic art. It's beautiful. If you haven't seen her channel, I highly recommend it. But she's done a review of these, and she's done a demonstration piece, and I think I definitely highly suggest you go watch her video. After you finish watching mine, I think it's always a good idea to watch more than one review video when you're looking for new supplies. But her video is very interesting because she's approaching it from the standpoint of a realistic portrait artist. So her criteria and what she's looking for the pencils to do might be different to how I'm approaching it because we're doing different artwork. So I just wanted to say that, and I think it's kind of important to bear in mind. Because different artists use supplies differently, but she did use the pencils with a pencil blending solution, a paint thinner or something like that, and they did work very well. So if you do use blending solutions with your pencils, then I do know that these pencils do work with it. But I thought it'd be quite nice to do a coloured pencil piece where I'm not using anything. Now, I don't own any pencil blending solutions anyway, so I couldn't use them, but I just thought it would be interesting for you guys to see something that's not using them and to see how it looks. So how well do these pencils work, and did they live up to everything that Derwent claimed they could do? I went into this with very high expectations. Now, on the whole, I try to not do that because I find that it's a bit unfair on the art supply sometimes for you to have ridiculously high expectations, but I read all about them on Derwent's website, and I expected them to do what obviously you expect your supplies to do, what the box says. And these didn't disappoint me, and I went in, as I said, with high expectations. So they blended really nicely. There was no wax build-up, no wax bloom. They were definitely soft, as I said, not as soft as the luminance, but the luminance are double the price of these. But the colours were really nice and vibrant. I was able to get loads and loads of layers. They are a really nice pencil, and they definitely do what Derwent says they can do. One thing that you might want to bear in mind is the light fastness rating. Now, on Lisa's video on Lacquery Fine Art, she does talk a little bit more about this because this is much more of an issue for her. Now, for me, the light fastness rating of the pencil is really not a big deal, because I don't sell my original pieces and I store them in a binder. If I do hang them up, I never hang them in direct sunlight. If the light fastness is an issue or is very important to you, then Derwent on their website has a colour chart and it shows all the different light fastness ratings. I do know that about 40 of the pencils are light fast, and that's out of 72. So out of 72, about half of the pencils are light fast. So if you want to try these pencils but you don't want to pick up any that aren't really light fast, then you can buy them open stock. They're about €2 open stock, or £2 depending where you live. I don't know how much they are in dollars yet, but they are about €2 open stock, so you can go ahead and you can just purchase the ones that are light fast to add to your collection. Now in this piece I used all 24 pencils. I did a lot of layering, a lot of blending to create different colours. I ended up adding one luminance pencil into the mix, as I mentioned earlier, for the skin tone, just because I didn't have a light base skin tone colour that I needed, and I found that the pencils blended really well together. When I buy a new set of pencils, I don't kind of cancel out all my old pencils. I use them all together, so it's an addition to my coloured pencil collection. I also think though that if you haven't bought any pencils or you don't own any artist grade pencils, if you're beginning your collection, then I think this is a really nice way to begin it. Because these are wax and oil based pencils, you are kind of getting the best of both worlds, and it's a really nice thing, and a really nice way to start, and then you can build up and get some luminance or some polychromos as well. But I do think that these are a really nice starting point for a coloured pencil collection, so that's something else to bear in mind if you're thinking of buying some, you're thinking about perhaps upgrading from a student grade coloured pencils, or perhaps you've had Prismacolors and you want to buy some pencils that aren't so prone to breaking, or you're looking at maybe what set to get, then I think this set is a really nice way to go. And the set of, you can get a bigger set than this, but I think the set of 24 is a really nice starting point as well. You get a really nice selection of colours. You can do pretty much anything. You may want to buy one or two skin tones, particularly if you do a lot of lighter skin tones, then you may need one extra skin tone. That's about it for this video. These are really nice pencils. They're an oil and wax based blend. They blend really nicely, they're very smooth in the laydown, they're slightly harder than the luminance but softer than the Polychromos, so they kind of fall in between. They blend really nicely with both different colours. The colours are very vibrant. There are 72 colours available, open stock and in cases. As I said, the light fastness ratings may be an issue, you may want to look into that. The only other thing I found with these pencils is that the colours on the end can not be accurate, they're not an accurate representation of the lead inside sometimes. So that's something you may want to bear in mind. Oh, the other thing is that if you're used to using Polychromos pencils or Prismacolors, you may find at first that these pencils are a little chunkier. They still fit into the same sharpness. I haven't had any issue with that, but just bear that in mind. The Prismacolors are very lightweight pencils, and these are a little tiny bit chunkier and a tiny bit heavier. So you may just need a few minutes to adjust to that if you're used to using a lighter pencil. Make sure you leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and if you've used these pencils or have anything to add to this discussion, then make sure you leave a comment down below. I look forward to reading what you guys say, and I think it's all important we learn from each other. So leave a comment down below, make sure you give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe if you want to see more videos. I will see you all next week with a new creative colouring tutorial, and until then, have a creative week.